All right, here we are with 4K Part 2. And this is applications of fractions, and here we're going to do some problem solving. So our first problem here says that the perimeter, the distance around the outside edge of this figure, is 12 3/5. And we need to find the length of the missing side. So we know if the distance around the outside edge is 12 3/5, we can take these three that we know and subtract them from 12 3/5. So we're going to add these three together first and then subtract that sum from 12 3/5. So I'm going to take 2 4/5 millimeters and add it to 4 1/10 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and do that problem by itself. You could do all three of them together if you like, but I like to take them apart like this. I see that my common denominator can be 10 because I list the multiples of the larger number until I find one that the smaller number also divides into, and the first multiple of 10 is 10. We didn't change this fraction at all, so that says 1/10. I'm going to multiply times 2, and that's 8. Now we're going to do our addition here. So 8 plus 1 is 9 over 10, and 2 plus 4 is 6. So the sum of the first two is 6 9/10. Now I'm going to add to that the 3 1/2. Again, look for a common denominator, and again, the first multiple of the largest number, 10, is 10, and 2 divides into 10, so we're going to use 10 as our common denominator. We don't need to change that fraction at all. This fraction we need to multiply top and bottom by 5. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. 9 plus 5 gives us 14 over 10, and 6 plus 3 is 9. Now 14/10 is an improper fraction, so we've got to change that. And we're going to change that to 9 plus 1 4/10. So we've got 10 4/10. 10 divides into 14 once with 4 left over. And of course 4 and 10 can both be divided by 2, so we have to do that reducing. And we get 10 2/5. So we see that we get 10 2/5 for the sum of the three sides that we know. We're going to take that 10 2/5 and subtract it from the total perimeter. So we're going to take our 12 3/5 and subtract our 10 2/5, which looks like a pretty easy problem. So 3 minus 2 is 1 over 5, and 12 minus 10 is 2. So our missing side then is 2 1/5. And if we added all four of those up now, we should get 12 3/5. All right, next problem. Tommy's chocolate cake recipe calls for 1 3/4 cup sugar. Amanda's chocolate cake recipe calls for 1 3/4 cup sugar. Oh, I said that wrong, didn't I? Sorry. Let me read that again. Tommy's chocolate cake recipe calls for 1 1/3 cups of sugar. Amanda's chocolate cake recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups of sugar. How much more sugar does Amanda need than Tommy? All right, so we're looking for how much more, which kind of clues us that we want to find the difference. And we know that Amanda has more than Tommy, so we want to take Tommy's and subtract from Amanda's. All right, so Amanda has 1 3/4. And we're going to subtract Tommy's 1 1/3. We need a common denominator, so I'll list the multiples of 4 until I find one that 3 divides into. 4 doesn't work. 4 times 2 is 8. That doesn't work. 4 times 3 is 12. Of course, that works. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. And remember, we're subtracting. So 9 minus 4 is 5/12, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So Amanda's recipe has 5/12 more cups than Tommy's recipe. While working on a group project, Samson ate 3/8 of a bag of Doritos, Roberto ate 1/2 of a bag, and Yael ate 1/4 of a bag of Doritos. How much did they eat all together? So our key words here are how much did they eat all together. That's going to clue us that this is an addition problem. And our three numbers there are right there. So we've got 3/8 plus 1/2 plus 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and add all of these at once, and I need a common denominator that will work for all three of them. take the larger number, list its multiples until I find one that the other two divide into, and in this case 8 will work for all of them. So we don't need to change that first fraction at all. Our 1/2 we need to multiply by 4 in both the numerator and denominator to get our new fraction. And our 1/4 we need to multiply by 2 to get ace in the denominator. So we multiply that numerator and denominator both by 2. Our denominator is 8, that's not going to change. And we have 3 and 4 is 7 and 2 more is 9, so 9/8. We know that we can divide 8 into 9 once with 1 left over. So that's an improper fraction, we need to change it to our mixed number. And so they ate altogether 1 1/8 bags of Doritos. All right, so guys, did a good job getting your notes done here, and I'll see you in class where we'll practice this a little bit.